Welcome back to the show. I'm Jim, and this is my 1974 Seacraft. We're here in sunny Maryland. It's about 33 degrees, and we're going to give this old girl some new technology. I restored this boat 20 years ago when I bought it. I haven't really touched it since, aside from a few upgrades here and there, but really the electronics, everything was from 20 years ago. Since then, we've added some cushions. I actually put this 225 Honda on a couple years ago, so we've slowly been updating things, but this year it's going to get a big update. We're putting the Seakeeper RIDE system on, which is technology that is like state-of-the-art for small boats. It's an active trim tab system. It goes in place of your regular trim tabs, and it actively will correct the boat up to 10 times per second to account for wave action, people moving on the boat, anything. I'm sure you've heard of the Seakeeper system on bigger boats. That's the gyro-based system. This is a active trim tab system in the back of the boat that will keep it level. It's pretty amazing stuff. I'm really excited to put this on and bring this old boat up to state-of-the-art technology. My boat actually stays in the water, so it's bottom painted. We keep it right down the street from the house. It's been in the water since I've had it for 20 years. I have Bennett trim tabs on here. These are original to the boat. These actuators have been replaced, but the whole system's pretty old. It's worked incredibly well. These are hydraulic. I always say if you're going to keep your boat in the water, you should have hydraulic trim tabs. If you keep it on a trailer or out of the water, the electric ones are okay. They just react a little faster. But this is old technology. It's very effective, works really well, and is pretty much the gold standard for any small boat. But the Seakeeper RIDE is the state-of-the-art, which we're going to go with. The first step that we're going to have to do to put the Seakeeper RIDE system on this old boat is remove these trim tabs. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew the plates, unscrew the actuators, and then we're going to fill all the holes with thickened epoxy, and we'll have to refinish the holes up here. I'll have to paint over those to make those go away. And then we'll have to remove the hydraulic tubes and all the pump and control head up on the console. All right, so now we have the tabs off. It's left several holes here we have to fill. Next step, we're going to pull the hydraulic tubes out. And then we're going to go ahead and drill these holes out a little bit bigger and backfill them with epoxy. The first step is figuring out the transom angle. Here's an angle finder gauge that we got. So go ahead and turn this on. And basically you extend out your running surface right here of your boat by putting a flat edge on it, like so. And then you put the other side up here on your transom and let it sort of, rest on there so that it's generally flat. And then you read the angle. So we have, our angle here is 101 degrees. So we'll go do it again here. 103 degrees. 102 degrees. I'm going to go to the other side, do it again. 102. So the reason I'm doing it multiple times is because this boat has a lot of bottom paint and a lot of buildup. It's got some imperfections, and a little tiny imperfection could make this thing, off by 2 or 3 degrees. So that's why I'm doing it multiple times. I've done it now in 6 different places. The primary places I'm concerned about are right here and the same spot on the other side where the old tabs were. And it all is about 102 degrees. So all the parts laid out here on the table. We've been through all the packing lists to make sure we have everything we need. So you see it all here. The first step we did was measure that transom angle. And if you can zoom in here, you can see we had a 102 degree angle. So it shows here in the installation guide which wedges we have to use to make that angle. It tells you we need 1 of the 3 degree wedges and we need 2 of the 5 degree wedges. Seakeeper gives you all these wedges right here in varying degrees, and you can use these wedges in the combinations that they specify to build up whatever angle you need. So the 23 Seacraft has what's called a variable dead rise hull. So there's a certain dead rise here, and then it gets a little steeper here, and then a little steeper in the middle. The way you mount these is obviously against the transom. Seakeeper says you can have a 1.5 inch gap right here to your chine. And if you do have a variable degree dead rise transom like this, you shouldn't have more than a 3 inch overlap over that, over the next step there. So obviously on ours, we're 1.5 inches from the chine right here, and we're about a 4 inch overlap. But you know, that's just how it is. There's nothing we can do. We could go out a little bit further, maybe cheat out a little bit to be 1 inch there and 3.5 inches here, which I think is what we're going to do. So you can see the gap that I have. I can go all the way out. Obviously that's going to kick up water. Right there is 1.5 inches. So I'm going to kind of cheat over a little bit, you know, and I'm just trying to visualize how much that water is going to wrap around the transom. And I don't really want to go, I think I want to stick to that, you know, maybe cheat over 1/8 of an inch or so. I don't really want to do any more than that. The transom on the Seacraft had a 102-degree angle that we measured with our angle finder. So Seakeeper recommends a certain amount of wedges to make that flat. The flatness we're looking for is to extend our running area. And then we're going to put the Seakeeper RIDE system up here. And what we want to see is that the Seakeeper RIDE system is flat with the running surface. Now, here's the running surface, and here's the surface of the Seakeeper RIDE right here. You want these to match up as good as possible. If you look under here, right here, on the transom plate of the Seakeeper RIDE, there is going to be a gap right there. The surface we're concerned about is this surface right here. We're going to fill this in later with the adhesive. I'm going to mock up exactly where this is going to go, and I'm going to leave the bottom, you know, painted and all that. So I'm going to put this up there, take approximate measurements of where it's going to go, and then we're going to mark it off with a Sharpie to give us an idea of exactly what area needs to be sanded off. And then we're going to go ahead and sand it off, and then we're going to mock it up again after that. One thing that's interesting about these Seakeeper RIDE controllers is you get one shot at it. So the glue that's used to hold these on the transom is a permanent glue, and it's integral to the installation. So you get one chance to put that transom plate on your transom. So you want to make sure it's exactly where it needs to be the first try, because there is no second try. It doesn't mean you can't go buy another set of transom plates and, you know, redo the whole thing again, but it's certainly something you want to do right the first time. I've disassembled the controller here, and I've mocked up my transom about approximately where it should go. I'm going to get a little more specific now. This is the actual plate that's going to get attached to the transom. So we're going to go ahead and mark this up. I'm going to line it up with the lines I made, and then I'm going to double check it on the bottom. You should have approximately 1/8 of an inch gap at the very bottom. The next thing we do is we mark the screws that are going to hang this in place so we can further assemble it and mock it up. So you make little dots at the tops of these holes. Like so. Got 1, 2, and 3. So next we're going to drill these holes out. We're going to put screws there, which will then hang this on, and that'll enable us to complete the rest of the mock-up. All right, we have the transom plates hung in place, so we can move on to the next step. With the Seakeeper RIDE system, you can actually route your cables in through either of these holes right here, so it's a completely flush look, or you can bring it in where your old hydraulic hoses or old electric wiring for your electric taps came out. So you have to measure to make sure you're okay if you want to use this flush mount style through the back side of the controller. So we've gone inside of the boat and measured. I use this as a reference point to measure down, and we do have room inside of that hole. to bring the wires right in there. So we're going to go with that installation type. So you're trying to get it down to bare fiberglass like that right there. This boat has old yellow gel coat on it. So that's the look you're going for. You can look on the other side of the boat. We've already done that side and see what it's supposed to look like. Now that the messy part's all done outside, we've brought the boat into the shop and we're going to get to the clean part here, gluing these controllers on the transom. The first step is to assemble your wedges and your transom plate and your seal plate and put this plate right here on. And I've already done this step because I had to get underneath, but you just want to confirm that it is still flat and your running surface extends to this plate and it's within 1 degree of being level with your running surface. Then the next step after that is to drill our pilot holes for the through hole glands that will go through the transom for the wiring. So on this boat, we've elected to go to wire it through the controller itself, so all the wires are flush. Alternatively, if you can't find a way to run the wires through without hitting a stringer or bulkhead or something, you can actually run the wires out the back and out the top into a hole. So on our particular boat, we have room here. Let's say we were blocked on the inside and we want to do it on the outside. They give you 4 inches of play, so you can do it either out here or in here, or outside. So it's very flexible, should fit any transom situation. So we'll plug this fixture they give you, it's a drill guide, into the hole we're going to use. And then we're going to just drill a pilot hole, and that'll set us up to drill the main hole for the gland. That's it. If you look at the transom here, we've drilled a 3/4 inch hole through the transom to the inside. We've checked the inside, everything has perfect clearance, so it's a good hole. We're gonna now put these glands in. So this is a through hole fitting. The gray part has the actual gland in it, and this is gonna go on the inside of the boat, and we're gonna feed it out, put this nut on here, and then we'll cut off the excess. We're gonna encapsulate this whole thing in 4200 so it won't leak. And this transom on this boat is Coosa, so we're not worried about water intrusion. But if you do have a wood transom boat, I think it's a good idea to encapsulate all of this, all the wood inside of that hole with epoxy before you move forward. Next, we're going to cut off the excess from this through hole gland right here. Here we are up inside the center console. This boat has all the old electronics coming out. We're putting all new electronics in, so it's right in the middle of a refit, so it's a spaghetti mess back here. But I found a good spot for the Seakeeper software module. This has to be mounted with the Seakeeper logo pointed forward or backwards. And it has to be level, and it has to be on a vertical bulkhead. So they can be mounted this way in the boat or this way in the boat. It can't be mounted that way or that way or that way. It's got to be forward or backward. The other important thing to keep in mind is it has to be mounted as close to the operator as possible. So the steering wheel on this boat is right here. This area right here is literally as close as we can get to the operator. It's within 2 feet of the operator. I'm going to put it on this spot right here. This is a solid fiberglass bulkhead inside the console. It's very rigid. It's not going to move. So I think that's a good spot. So we're going to go ahead and get this bolted up right now. Next step is to prepare the surface of the transom. The methacrylic glue we're using recommends we use these prep wipes. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe the back of the transom with these, as well as the back of the controller. I'm going to mask off the bottom of the controller so that when I go to apply the methacrylic adhesive, I can ferret in here and pretty much wipe it, ferret over the controller surface, and then I can just remove the tape to clean it all up. A few steps back, we had to prep the surface of these to get ready for the glue. Part of the instructions said to make sure you don't sand these nubs down. There's 3 nubs on each of them. That's to provide space off the transom for the glue to sit. So at this stage, just make sure you haven't sanded those down and you got them in place. The glue that Seakeeper recommends is this SG300-40-B metha-acrylic glue or metha-acrylic adhesive from SCI Grip. So It's got a mixing tip here. It's a 2-part. You have to buy this dispenser with it as well. We're going to go ahead and apply one entire tube to the starboard side and then one separate entire tube to the port side. So we're going to go ahead and coat this thing, the back of the controller with it, and then we're going to coat the boat with it, and then we're going to screw it on there. All right, now we're ready for the moment of truth. We have a very thick layer of this acrylic glue on the controller itself, and then an equal amount on the transom. We've already pre-positioned our 3 bolts there to hang this controller from. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this on there, and then I'm gonna get my screwdriver and cinch down all these screws, and that's gonna compress it, and then all the glue's gonna squeeze out everywhere, and then I'll go ahead and fair the bottom at that point and wipe off all the excess. I'm gonna go ahead and fair in the bottom here. I'm gonna smear this adhesive to make a real flat surface on the bottom between the running surface of the hull and essentially the running surface of the controller. The transom plate's now adhered to the transom with the methacrylate glue. We've run the cable for the actuator through the hole, and we're gonna go ahead and fit this up here. Okay, so we have a test fit here. We're gonna go ahead and put the hardware in next and then go do the other side. Okay, so we have the actuator in place. We've put the seal plate on here. I've already torqued the bottom to 50 inch-pounds, and I'm had the top here as well to torque to 50 inch-pounds. So we've done them all. I just want to show you. So our next step is to put the blade up here on the actuator. So we use these screws with the hex heads. Don't forget to use your medium strength thread lock on here. And you'll put these on. We've already wrapped up the starboard side. We're over here on the port side. I've got the blade put in place here with these 4 bolts just snugged up. So now we have to torque it all to 80 inch-pounds. I said before, this boat is really in the middle of a bunch of projects. We're getting all new electronics and all new everything on it, but so it's a little bit messy. We just pulled it out of the corner of the yard before we did this project. Back here in the back of the boat, you can see I've mounted the Seakeeper RIDE distribution module here. So this is what the controllers go to. I've run power to this and also the control cable to this. These will run up to the front of the boat in the console where the software module is. I had to pull out the Bennett trim tab controller, and that's down here. And I also had another component mounted here. So I pulled both of those out and made this new trim plate and put the Seakeeper RIDE controller here. We're gonna put our autopilot controller here. And again, lots of other upgrades going on too. Here I am inside the center console of this boat. I've mounted the software module right here. So it's on that bulkhead, so it's facing the front of the boat and vertical and as close to the driver as possible. We've actually wired the power to this fuse block here. So you're supposed to use a 25 amp circuit breaker, but my boat has a really robust electrical system because we do use this boat for a lot of testing and we're always mounting new stuff to it. So I'm actually, with these Seakeeper rides, I put the main power to this fuse block, and that's going to go to a 25 amp fuse. We finally have the boat launched. You can see here I've got all new Garmin electronics. Over here I've mounted the Seakeeper control module, or the control pad. All brand new, really slick. And I've already done a few sea trials on calm days, but if you look around, we're in our little harbor here and it's super windy right now. It's pretty rough. So we're going to go ahead and head on out here to the Eastern Bay in Maryland and see how these things do in a chop. One thing I want to say, now that I've used it for a few weeks in calm weather, this keypad here is super bright. Now there is a setting in the options on your Garmin screen to turn the brightness down, but it's really bright. So when you run the boat at night, it's just always one more thing you have to go do every time. So I don't really think the keypad is necessary. And another reason I say that is because on the screen you can have your whole Seakeeper RIDE screen, and this is where you can go through all your settings and control your Seakeeper RIDE, so it's real easy. But with Seakeeper RIDE, what I found is you just hit the auto button. That's goes to manual, that goes to auto. You put it on auto and you'll never change it. So once it's on auto, you're good to go. So you don't really need this keypad unless you want to make small adjustments. If you look over here on this Garmin screen, I actually put a little quadrant up here of the Seakeeper RIDE, so that I can turn the auto on and off, or I can just tilt it to the left a click or to the right a click. I found sometimes the boat rides to the left just like a degree, sometimes to the right a degree, and it'll stay right there. But so I found that sometimes I'll tilt it one way, just one click, or the other way one click, just to get it perfectly level. So let's go ahead and head out here where it's rough and see how these things do. Out here on the Chesapeake, this is about as rough as we normally get. On a typical day where you take the boat out, it's probably 1 or 2 quarters or something. Melts right now, it's lots of wind. We're going beam to the sea right now. And I'm going to go ahead and put my phone on the compass, which is probably the best way to see how the boat's moving. So you see how much it's moving right now. I'm going to go ahead and turn the Seakeeper off, the Seakeeper RIDE off, and show you what the boat does then, but I gotta hold on, so bear with me. All right, here I go. All right, now it's off. You see the horizon, see everything bouncing around. I'm literally having to hold on pretty hard here. I'm gonna back off the compass so you see the whole picture. Right, system is on. So the boat is moving around a lot, but I'm going to actually turn the system off so you see the mayhem that'll happen when it's on. So now the system is on. Big slam. So now it's going to be a lot rougher. The boat's moving around a lot more. You can hear that slamming on the hull. Oh my god. It's pretty story. Alex, hit that. So we're finally back from our ride. We're here at the dock. I went out a little farther than we probably should have for today. It's really windy out there, and so we're soaked, and it's like 50 degrees, so we're freezing cold, but I want to wrap this up. The one thing I noticed when I got out in the really rough weather that we just were in, when I was holding on for dear life, I had to back the boat down to about 18 miles an hour or so. And at that point, the Seakeeper RIDE system didn't have a whole lot of effect on the hull. So I wanted to put the bow in the water a little more, tilt the boat away from the sea a little bit. So at really slow speeds, it doesn't have as much effect as my old trim tabs did. This boat used to have huge trim tabs on it, probably 18 inches wide by 10 inches deep. So they worked at any speed. But anything near cruise speed or above, these Seakeeper RIDEs are amazing. It's almost like, hard to explain, but it's like you're putting a pillow between the boat and the water. It takes away all those hard hits that you might have, all those chine hits, you know, anytime the boat slams, all that just sort of goes away. So I'm really happy with the purchase. I think on this 1974 Seacraft, it's made a huge difference, and I'm totally looking forward to this summer. Thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please subscribe below. We've got plenty more videos. We're always making new videos. And if you want to buy Seakeeper RIDE or any of the cool electronics we put on this boat, just go to BOEmarine.com.